Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I'm a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. Now, for over 2 decades, I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to the well-being. And I'm joined today with my co-host, Kimberly Danielle. Hey, Kimberly.
Hey, Stephen, and hello, everyone. I am Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, a coach, and a communication strategist who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. And today, we are chatting about a question that some social entrepreneurs face, particularly because you're building impact-driven businesses. So what is this question? The question is, what happens when your purpose and your profit goals start pulling you in opposite directions? And I know many people are facing this tension, this question this year than you have in previous years, but especially this year is a tricky moment for those of us who start a business because we really believe in something deeply, and that has motivated us and driven us to build this thing. But then we hit a season where the numbers just aren't adding up. And we all know that bills have to be paid, materials have to be purchased, and importantly, payroll has to be met. And so, and in addition to that, if you have gotten some investments, some capital from investors, they're looking for those returns. So, you might just come upon opportunities that could alleviate the financial pressures, but they might not fully align with your values. So what do you do in this moment? What do you do in this moment? And Stephen, is this something that you have heard from entrepreneurs, this question that they're kind of wrestling with?
Yeah, they're like, what do you do when the math is not mathing? And I think, it's a question that I think every entrepreneur will experience in their journey, where they're trying to hold on to mission critical activities and also trying to generate the revenue that they're trying to create. And it can be very difficult and it can be very stressful when you're trying to hold to the mission, but also figuring out how do you generate revenue. And oftentimes you have people that come in and they may see an opportunity, or sometimes they may see a sucker where they can actually take advantage of the moment and situation to drive things the way they want to drive it. And it can be really challenging. I'm reminded of Pennsylvania House of Representative Chris Rabs, who wrote in his book, Invisible Capital, about how people go into business, usually because they hope to make a profit. And that, however few will ever achieve a significant level of profitability. But people who go into business, particularly small business owners, also recognize that they're in business not just for the money, but they're in business for the mission and how that mission builds the kind of community well-being and assets of a community. So money is important, and they can find yourself where it can be tenuous sometimes. But at the same time, what do you do? Do you take a job? Do you find additional partnerships? Do you build out something that can actually generate money that will help support your business? But then to what extent does that take you in another direction? So we want to talk a little bit about that. And part of what we realize is that most social entrepreneurs care about both their purpose, which is your mission, what you care about in terms of your values, and the change that you actually want to see in communities, as well as the profit, the financial sustainability, so that this is where this kind of rubber meets the road, but also where the tension gets really real. And so I think part of the invitation is to think about, do you stick with your principles and your values, Or do you pivot? Do you compromise to keep your business afloat? And I think that's the real thing that you have to wrestle with. And people answer that question differently. It's our opportunity at this moment to really raise the question and to give an opportunity to kind of explore some of these ideas as we move into the episode.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Danielle.
And I'm Stephen Lewis, and we're the co-founders of Do Good X.
If you are building a purpose-driven business and generating $60,000 or more annually, this fall, we have created something just for you. It's an experience designed to help you scale with clarity and support.
And so from November 6th through 8th, we're gathering a small group of underestimated, impact-focused social entrepreneurs for an intimate weekend here in Atlanta.
This is the launch of Do Good X's Mastermind community, starting with this in-person retreat. This is a chance to really decelerate from the hustle, reconnect with your inner wisdom, and align with mentors and tools to grow your business in ways that honor your values, but also your well-being.
And you'll walk away with renewed clarity, expert insights, real relationships, and an action plan to scale your impact without burning out.
And for those of you who are ready to go deeper, you'll be invited into our 6-month mastermind experience, a coaching and education journey rooted in purpose, faith, and community.
Spots are limited, and we invite you to dogoodx.org/mastermind community to learn more and apply today.
We can't wait to welcome you to Atlanta in November.
Some of you tuning in, you may have had the gift of not experiencing this tension, and some of you have. And if you haven't, I just want to name a few ways that this might show up, that ways that this tension might play out when you're faced with some financial challenges while also trying to hold close to the values that you have. One example is supply chain choices, which I know a lot of business owners have had to shift in the production or the materials that they use, especially this year, given the tariffs that have come into play. And so, are you choosing a cheaper vendor that's maybe not necessarily aligned with your sustainability standards? That has shown up. Or are you shifting your products or services for short-term trends because they are profitable, but they move away from your mission? And there's a trend going on, it's going to make you some quick money so that you can pay, you can pay your payroll and other things. And it might work out for your business model, but it might not fully align with the types of products and services that you typically offer that support the principles of your business, the values of your business. Or are you cutting back on programs that haven't brought back revenue or are hard to raise funds for if you are a nonprofit, even though they are creating the positive impact that you want to make in the community? So, these are just some concrete examples, and they're really hard choices in tough moments to be in and require a level of discernment. And sometimes in these moments, it can feel much like you're operating out of a sense of survival. So, while these are real situations you will need to consider, you'll need to keep in mind that your choices can shift the focus of your business, not just today, but tomorrow, the next day, over a period of time, including its values. So there are short-term consequences to your choices and potentially long-term consequences to your choices, whatever those choices might be, because it is up to you to determine what's best for your business and what is aligned with your mission and in your values. So, the question that you should continue to hold is, one, what are the values that are core to who your business is? And how do you honor those values while meeting the needs of your business and its sustainability? Or another way that I might say this is, how can you stay anchored in your purpose, but also remain creative and open when evaluating opportunities, especially in challenging times. Either way you go, in your choice, there's a cost.
Right. There's always an opportunity cost to any choice that you make with regards to your business. And I think these are really good questions, particularly as you're trying to evaluate, what do you do? And sometimes, you can invite your customers to speak back into your business that'll help you make the right decision for your business and for your customers and the communities that you want to serve. So as you think about this, think about it in the context of who are the people that you're already supporting, who are your long-term customers with this regard, and what are they saying? What is it that they are wanting more of? And that may then help you determine if you can find some niche of additional type of problem that you might try to solve that actually can help underwrite some of the things that you're trying to do in terms of your business. But it can also, when talking with your customers and talking to the community, you can also understand like what value your business holds for the larger community of people that you're serving, in terms of letting them speak into what it is that they value about your business, and what does it then suggest about how important what you do is to the community and the people that you're trying to serve. I think part of, the invitation is really to think about this always, again, a cost for any decision that you make in business. So if you're in a place of tension between purpose or profit, consider, what is the cost of the decision that you make. If you decide to take on a part-time job, or you decide to find some partner who wants to invest, or maybe you need to put up collateral and get a business loan, or maybe there's some pivot that you need to make in your particular business so that you may get even closer to what it is that people are actually looking for as it relates to a solution that you're working on with regards to your customer base. But part of it is realizing that, whatever, opportunity costs that you think about, whatever costs of your choices that you make, it will impact your team. It will impact potentially your customers' perception of your business, the way you lead in your business, maybe even the integrity of the product or service that you provide. And most importantly, your choices can impact your mission in positive and maybe less than desirable ways. The other thing is that you need to think about is what will be the cost of the impact? So will you lose loyal customers even while you're gaining profits or a new set of customer base? Will you lose the trust of your team who was so gung-ho and they believed in the mission and what it is you're trying to serve, but in hard times, realizing that, you had to make some really hard, difficult choices. So will you lose the loyalty and the trust of your actual team? And the list can go on. You could add to that. But if you're in this place exploring and discerning your way forward for sustainability, it's important to consider what are the non-negotiables for you to stay aligned with your values of your business and what it is you ultimately have been called to bring this business into being. The other thing is, where can you get creative? And who's in your community that can offer insight, ideas, connections to explore other possibilities of what you can do when you're in this pinch, when you're in this tension between profit and purpose. Kim, what would you add?
Yeah, I was thinking about some of the examples that you were sharing earlier. Do you get a part-time job? Do you put up some collateral? I think there are so many possibilities. And, the saying, if there's a will, there's a way. And sometimes it's not necessarily, it may not be an idea that comes from our own head. Maybe we do need to connect with our community. I would encourage you to connect with your community. Sometimes people feel guilty or shamed by what is going on in their business. If it's not up to the standards in which you like, you're not generating revenue, you're not able to pay your payroll or whatever, or what challenge might be showing up. And that is the moment in which you should be leaning on your community, because they can spark some ideas, some creative approaches that you may not have necessarily thought of. And so I do encourage you and invite you to put on that creative hat and creative thinking so that you can come up with a solution before you just throw in the towel. And hopefully it doesn't get to the point where you throw in the towel. So while purpose and profit can sometimes collide, you get to choose which one takes the lead. And if you've already made a business decision that seems like a step away from your values and the purpose of your business, think about, well, what can you do now to bring it back into alignment? It's not too late to think about how can you shift it back into its alignment?
Yeah. I was thinking about a lot of businesses during the pandemic had to scale back and scale down, and they went from a 7-day-a-week business to maybe just a weekend, or maybe it was Tuesday through Saturday, those types of things. In other cases, businesses had to shed their kind of physical footprint and move online and for a period of time. But I think, in all, I think, again, when you have this tension, part of the pivot maybe is not so much as a hard, fast, either I'm going to be in business or I close my doors. Sometimes it may be, how can I scale back a little bit so that I can actually focus on the real part of the business that I need to do? So maybe it's not a Sunday through Sunday type of venture. Maybe it's not a Monday through Friday. Maybe you have to scale back in terms of your hours. Maybe it's scaling back in terms of your building and you're just online. Those are the type of adjustments that you can make. But all of those have, all those decisions have some implication in terms of, again, how you're perceived in terms of your business and what your team may value or not value. And I think it's okay to live in that, but you get to make the decision with regards to how you will engage this moment, whether it be creatively or with deep angst and anxiety. You get to choose. And what we're really inviting you is to think about this and have a plan long before you get into the place where you may be feeling the pinch, unless you're already feeling it now, to think thoughtfully and to be discerning about who are the right type of people you can put around you to help you make a good decision with regards to what you do in this moment. So remember, these are all the questions that you don't have to reflect on alone. At Do Good X, we support social entrepreneurs who want to do good while generating a profit. And so we have resources. We have a community and we have opportunities to help you build and grow your business with intention and in purpose. So visit dogoodx.org and learn more.
And if you enjoyed this conversation, we would love for you to take a moment and leave a review wherever you listen to this podcast. Your feedback helps us to grow and also helps other entrepreneurs like you to find tools, stories, and inspiration they might need to keep doing what they are doing and to keep doing good. So share your thoughts and give us a rating, and we'd love to know what's resonating with you. And I'll also just end with this. Not only should you be thinking creatively, but also in previous episodes, we talked about the importance of the inner stillness and silence and what can emerge in your discernment in those moments of just reconnecting with yourself and the solutions that can surface then. So also take a moment to pause, to breathe, and to listen. And the answer you need just might be clear. We hope you join us next time. And until then, be well and do good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.